Okay. Hello. Somebody text me if you can hear me. Apologize for the delay. If somebody in chat will let me know that you can hear me, we will get started. I don't like that this doesn't show me any kind of volume thing here. So can you all hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, perfect. Okay. Well, Peter, it might just be you and me. We might be the only two people here. Let's see. I apologize for the delay. We had some technical difficulties. I'm trying to find my stuff here. Make sure everything's working the way we want it. Nope, that's not what I want. Here we go. All right. There you are. All right, guys. All right. So today we're going to do another print critique. If we do a third one, well, that depends on you guys because I only received like 3 prints this time. And I have 2 from last time that didn't make it here before we could start. But we have about 5 to look at today. So we're going to talk about it. Of course, I will talk about any other photo topic that you'd like to. While we're waiting for some people to jump on, we will talk about some other topics. So if you are on my Instagram, then you saw that I posted some pictures of the empty space that will eventually become the darkroom. We have the of course the house that we inherited from my mother-in-law, and it's got an attached garage, but it has a detached garage as well. I don't know if that was original or the people who built the house, they added that later. But it's been full during the transition here with the estate and everything. So we have the back portion emptied now, and yesterday I spent some time moving some built-in shelving from the back wall to a different wall because of course I need to use that space for like my table saw and stuff like that. But we are getting ready to be able to build out. One of the first steps we'll need to take, and a major step, will be to add a water line to that building. So we're trying to figure out where to access water on the property and how to get it over there and what kind of budget we're going to have for that. Electricity, fortunately, we already have in the building. We have a electrical panel already, so we'll be able to tap into that pretty easily and add the outlets that we want. There's only 2 outlets added now, and they're right by the front door. So we will work on that. And as we do so, I will update. So this may be multiple videos. It depends on what we're doing. I know videos from me have been sporadic at best. I was trying to get one out last weekend and didn't make it. So I'm taking a few days off from work. We'll see if we can get a video version of the C41 temperature test that was published in the current issue of Silver Grain Classics in video form. For those of you that don't subscribe to that magazine, I'm going to try to make a video form of that so that we can talk about what happens when you develop C41 at a variety of different temperatures and times. But I'm trying to get more video content out. It's very difficult. My time management has been very, very poor lately. So we are working on that. Okay, so we've been up for about 5 minutes. So I think everybody who's going to join is probably here. We got 27 of you. So let's start talking about some prints. So I gotta... Nope, it's over here. A little X-Acto knife so we can open these up. And this one is from Logan out in Colorado Springs. So let's see what Logan's got. How the heck do we open this without tearing into it? Logan, you did not need to tape every surface of this closed. Because I'm afraid I might cut into your print just trying to get this open. For those of you in the future, if we do this again, and you all want to send me a print, maybe I need to talk about good ways to ship prints in a video. Because I've seen a variety of different ways come from you guys, and some of them work better than others. Okay, looking for feedback on composition. Interested to hear general thoughts. All right, so we got a little print. It is a dog. All right. Print itself, digital print from a film file, I assume. No problems with that. I've done plenty of light jet and lambdas in my day. Composition wise, so when we look at this, sorry, I don't have a second camera set up today, guys. It was a little difficult getting the first one set up on time. So when we are looking at this print, and I'm trying to watch my screen as I talk about it, composition, we are really, really close to the nose on this side. And so it feels very, very claustrophobic. In this case, I would probably give a sense of space because what it feels like being that close to the border of the image creates a feeling like that dog's just got his nose right up against the wall, and it can create an uncomfortable feeling in the viewer. So I would leave a little bit more space on this side just so that it doesn't feel as claustrophobic like this one does for composition. So yeah, the camera's trying to focus on my face and then it goes back to the picture. Oops. So that's the main point I take from the composition. I don't have a problem with the dog's face being like in the upper third or even the side third, if you want to go by rules of thirds. There's no issue with that. It doesn't bother me. It's mostly just the way that nose is so close to the edge of the print. I think can be cropped a little bit different and wouldn't feel so claustrophobic. Otherwise, it's fine. That big gray pillow up in the front, get my face out of the picture so focus on the image. This big pillow down here, I mean, for a snapshot, I guess it's fine. If this were being photographed with intent, I would probably try to, maybe if I put it in front of my face, I'll stop trying to focus on me. So this big pillow here is starting to defocus, and so it's defocusing practically the whole bottom third of the image. So that is not exactly the best compositional element, but I can look past that. I would just give more edge. All right. Oh, my kids are on. Hey, bye. Hey, guys. All right. This next one comes from Alex in Dover, New Hampshire. And I believe this was another one that tried to get to me. The last one and this one were the ones that tried to get to me for last print critique video stream and didn't quite make it. Hopefully there aren't any at the post office today. We we had a late start. Took my kids to ride a train, and I was not able to get to the post office before they closed today to see if there were any more pickups. I did go yesterday. All right, and this one has return postage included, so we'll get this back to them when we're done. I guess this is from New England Analog photo group up there. Okay, I'd like to thank you for taking the time, not only for this live stream, but for all the other tremendously helpful information you've shared over the years. You're very welcome. I enjoy doing it, though I haven't been able to do it as often lately. I've included 2 recent cyanotypes. Great. And would appreciate your general feedback, as well as any technical or artistic critiques that come to mind. Soft, irregular crops are something new that I'm trying. Okay, we'll see in a moment. And I'm open to as much feedback as I can get on them. We'll do our best. Each image printed from an 8x10 negative, flooded pasture with shot with 300mm lens on X-ray film, developed in Rodinol, and cliffs on FOMA, the long lens. Yeah, f128, yes, you're going to get some diffraction, sure. Some halation from snowy areas. Okay, well, we're going to see these. Oh, and you made this on a typewriter. Awesome. Okay. All right, so we've got 2 images here. So we have this one here, cyanotype of, looks like trees and fog, perhaps, or water. Water, yeah, pond. But it's got a very ethereal feel to it. Okay, so that's the first one. And then this is the second one. And we've got a large outcropping of cliffs with trees. And this one is going to be a toned cyanotype. So for those of you that haven't seen them before, you can, like, this is a raw cyanotype where they're blue, since the iron forming the image turns blue. But then you can tone them and get a variety of other colors. So this is a toned cyanotype. All right, so let's talk about them a little bit. When we're looking at the trees and water, I'll turn this a little bit so I can see it and you all can see it. So the trees and water, he's opted for a rough stripe, painterly brush strokes on the edge. You can do whatever you like there. Some people will put masking tape down first, coat it, peel up the tape, get a nice crisp border. Or you can just brush. You can brush larger than your negative size, in which case you'll get a solid blue or whatever color material you're using, blue border with the brush strokes on the outside of that, but then the image is completely contained. In this case, he opted for brush strokes that were smaller than the image size, so or very close to the image size, so that we get some of the image kind of fading out into the brush stroke. So like I can see some of the reflections of this tree and grass in the water here in the foreground are starting to reflect and bleed down into the brush strokes. Whereas I can see here is where we had the actual edge of the negative. So it's like a selective crop within a larger image space. Because he did say this was originally an 8x10. So as he said, this was a 5x7. We would probably have the entire image, but here we have more of like a 5x7 crop of an 8x10 image. Compositionally, it's fairly nice. What we're using is kind of an L-shaped composition with a larger area negative space. We are losing some of the texture of this tree, so it starts to block up a little bit. But overall, it's pretty good. We got really good midtones, which I find difficult with cyanotype material. It tends to be a very high contrast. So you really have to have really negatives made for that process that takes the contrast into account. But yeah, so we're using an L shape. This is a video I kind of want to do one day. I haven't really thought about how I want to do it, but talking about the different kinds of compositions out there, they have to do more with illustration and painting, because obviously with those you're creating a composition, whereas with the camera you're selecting a composition. It's a little bit different mindset. But this is one of those that you can do where you have that L shape taking up a third and a third, and then you have the other 2/3 be different tonally or composition wise. So with this, yeah, I would say this is a very good composition for the scene. It gives us good foreground information, fades back into a background, gives a good sense of depth. So I like this one very much. I think it's pretty well planned out. Okay, looking at the cliffs. Sorry, looking at your all's comments here. Yeah, the second one is awesome. I agree, Chris. It's really good. And yeah, the toning on there is good. This is black tea. So after the print is made, you would tone it into a black tea solution, and then probably wash some of it out. But there's all kinds of toning you can do with cyanotype, and get a variety of different colors, as I said. I've even seen people do gum layers over the cyanotype. So the cyanotype is your blue cyan layer, and then they create a color image on top of that with the other two channels in the gum bichromate. Okay, so this one, quite a bit different. In this case, we don't have the foreground-background relationship like we did in the previous. Here we are doing more of a centrally placed area of interest with the cliffs, and then like the ring of trees around it. If I were photographing this, I would probably try to get from a position where I could eliminate the sky area so that I'm getting less context of place, and it's more just the brighter, higher contrast rock surrounded by the dark trees. But that's my how I would see it. In this case, this does kind of draw my attention away from the rock, so I don't think it's as strong a composition as the other. I think it's a good beginning. So if I couldn't find a position where I got those trees up and I could crop that image there, then what I would probably do is, what is the back of this? I would probably try to come in here, or maybe even tighter in. See, would that work for me? That starts to. I still have all this sky up here. So in that case, I would probably do this and kind of highlight this kind of V shape through here and cut it off and get a tighter crop in there. Just because I feel like that sky area is competing visually with this. And since there's no texture in the sky, it's not giving us anything. So I probably just wouldn't have it on there. But I mean, obviously it depends on the location, because you may not be able to get closer. If you're on the opposite cliff face, unless you have a longer lens, you're not getting any tighter in there. And it would come down purely to cropping. But I like your brush stroke aesthetic on the edges. Those are pretty good. I like a good deckled edge on a cyanotype print. All right, and we'll get that back out to you. So sorry for the delay in keeping it while we waited for this next scheduled critique, but your patience is appreciated. All right, so here's, actually we'll get to this one in a few minutes, because Ryan's local to me. He knows where I live. So we won't, we'll say that for last. So as I move the darkroom over and build it out, And I don't want to give too much away. But I feel like I'm missing one. I had another one. Somewhere, guys. We might have to take a few minutes because I'm the only one in the house right now. We might have to take a few minutes for me to run outside because I think I know where it is. But there's one more that's supposed to be here, and I've had it for a few days, so I know we're missing one. Oh, you're welcome, Alex. Let's see. Oh, you weren't expecting it to be frozen that morning. It happens, right? Weather happens. So the darkroom that I had previously was about 6 feet wide, 6.5 feet wide, and about 12 feet long. So I didn't have a ton of room, and I had that one sink in there. It was about 22 inches front to back, so almost 2 feet, and 7 feet wide. And so I'm bringing that over. That will be installed. But the space that I have now, I can make it any width that I want. I'm probably going to stick to around 8 feet because more than that, I'm just going to be doing a lot of walking from the dry side to the wet side. But what I am really considering doing is using the entire 25-foot length and making a much larger sink. I don't know what I'll make it out of, plywood, PVC sheet or something. And what I would like to be able to do in that, since the enlarger is capable, is be able to do up to 30 by 40 inch prints in trays. So have at least 4 or 5 trays in there of that size. The enlarger I have, it's still not set up, but it's in the correct space. If it gets all the way up, I can do a 30 by 40 inch print, but the last space, it was an 8-foot ceiling. I couldn't make it high enough. The table could drop all the way to the floor as it's supposed to, but I couldn't get the head up high enough to do it. The space here is 9 feet 4 inches. It's almost 9.5 feet. So plenty of space to get the enlarger at full height and get a full size print out of it. So I'm excited at that possibility. Okay, who's this from? This came international from the UK, and this is from Callum. So Callum, let's see what you got here. Oh, I see you're there. Okay, so we got a couple. Let's get them all out. Yeah, 2 prints. Okay. Sorry, guys, I'm having trouble with the tissue paper. Okay. All right, so we have 2 prints here. We have this one, looks like a bike path through the woods. And then we have this one here. Nice wide angle. All right. And I was thinking at first this one might be digital, but no, I can see the grain. So we are, where is this, Callum? Is this in down in England or up in Scotland? This is in Scotland. I say that with some authority as though I've ever been there. I have not. Is this nearby home? Yes, these are yours. Are they near your home? Did you travel somewhere else in your country to get these shots? You didn't include anything here. I don't know what you want to hear. Did I miss something? No instructions. All right. Well, since you're on here, what feedback would you like to get about your prints? Do you want something about the technique, about the composition? Very local. Okay. Sheffield. I'm watching for your comment. What did you want to get feedback on here? Put these back up while you're typing. How's a watermark done? That looks very much like a silver paint pen. Like you wrote on it with a pen. Not silver though, white. Yeah, white. Nothing included. Just interested in your thoughts. Oh, okay. Well, you haven't printed very long. Well, if you've not printed very long, you're doing a really good job. This is a really well printed image. I think the tonality is fantastic. The contrast is good. You did really well with the clouds. Yeah, you did pretty good. This one, we're a little dark on the sides. I don't know if that was intentional vignetting or if it's just the lighting. Again, we have really good midtones, especially with like down here in the foreground, this area. Get that a little closer for you guys. Ah, we're falling down. Let me hold it this way. All right, so we've got some good midtones in the foreground, fading back. That's pretty good. Selenium tone, okay. I usually don't selenium tone RC prints. I don't feel like it really does much. There's this one again. This one, I like this one very much. You did really good with the clouds. I like that you pointed the camera downwards and gave us clouds only at the top of the scene and actually gave us more information at the bottom. That one's really good. The diagonals and lines across your image are really good. I like this one quite a bit. You did a good job with the composition. The tonality is good. Yeah, so this one very, very strong. This one's okay. I mean, like, I think compositionally it's fine. We've got the direction going up through it. It's just because the woods are so dense, we can see the line. It's through there. It gets a little dark on the sides for me. So I think it's still a very good image. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like the other one stands a notch above. So you did a good job with both, but dynamically, I feel like the wider view landscape is really good. And I'm assuming these are 35 millimeter. Do you remember what focal length you used for this one? Because it does give me that kind of wide angle stretching in the corners that I associate with the wide angle. Yeah, high contrast scene, I'm sure it was. White inkjet pen. Okay. So anyway, I think they're both really good. I think you did a good job. Keep doing landscapes. Okay. Real quick. 645. Okay. And yeah, 40 millimeter would definitely be wide angle for that. So for those of you not too far into the film world yet, 645 is it's the smaller of the medium formats. Obviously, medium formats are going to use 120 size film, but it's the smallest image area, being 6 centimeters tall, 4.5 centimeters wide. So kind of the 35 millimeter film aspect ratio, but you get 16 images on a roll of film. But it's at least double the area, maybe a little bit more than double the area. Should be maybe triple the area of a 35 millimeter. So looks really good. But typical normal focal length, I believe, is around the 75 millimeter range. So 40 millimeters is getting fairly wide. Okay, before I open the next one, I am going to step out real quick and look for that other print, because I know we have one. Before I open these other two, we're going to find that. So you get to look at my couch for just a moment. Empty. I don't have any hold music. So we're going to grab that because I know that person sent it here. It's the first one I received in this batch, so it needs to be talked about. So I'm going to go find that, and I'll be right back. Okay. All right, plug back in. All right, this one is from Jonathan in Germany. Okay. Dear Gregory, thank you for doing the print critique. You're welcome. This print is a contact print of a FOMA 200 negative on ADOX Lupex paper. So that's similar to the Kodak Azo that I've printed on before. It is a contact print paper, which means it's not fast enough and not panchromatic enough. Panchromatic? I don't know. For enlarging. So you have to use just an exposed light bulb, very, very bright, and make a contact print on it. Tone using gold toner. Okay, I've never used gold toner. It's too expensive. Because of a long exposure time, about 15 minutes. I can't read that number. And the paper, it's quite high contrast, but that's how I like my prints. No worries. So did Brett Weston. The image was taken using a 120 millimeter lens. Negative was developed in ADOX XT3. My print was developed in ADOX Nutal Eco. XT3 is kind of ADOX's version of XTAL. For those of you unfamiliar with it. I'm open towards technical and also creative feedback. Okay, we can do that. Hopefully, well, I know we're not too late for people in Britain, but hopefully we're not too late for people over in Germany. We did have to schedule a little bit later today. Like I said, took my kids on a train ride, and so we start a little bit later today. And then, technical difficulties, which was mainly I couldn't find the HDMI cable I needed. Okay, so here's the print that we've got. So we're going to talk about that. And what do we have here? Okay, so we used a 120 millimeter lens on 8x10. So, 8x10. If you're on here, Jonathan, I'm very curious to know which 120 millimeter lens you were using. That's extremely wide on 8x10. Because 150. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah. That's extremely wide on 8x10. 150 is normal on 4x5. So 8x10 normal is 300. 150 would be half that. So we're already getting pretty wide. So 120 gets super wide. And to my knowledge, there aren't any lenses designed to cover 8x10 at that focal length, but there are some people who will use like a super angulon or a grandagon, something like that. And what I'm seeing is we're getting very, very soft on the top edge and the corners. So we're kind of reached the limit of good image quality. We are getting coverage. Some Schneider F8. Yeah, that's probably going to be the super angulon F8. So we are, like you said, very high contrast. We're starting to lose our blacks down here in this area, and some up in the rock here. Definitely up in this corner. Bear in mind, what you all see and what I see are a little bit different. I am getting more texture up in this area, I think, than you all are able to discern. But we're losing some, or beginning to lose some down in here. And so in that regard, the print might be maybe a touch contrasty. If Lupex is anything like ADOX, or not ADOX, Azo, what you can do is maybe a water bath development. This is something I did when I was in grad school because I was printing exclusively contact prints on Kodak Azo at the time, just before they discontinued it. So I was using Amidol, which you don't have to do, but I was using a 1 minute development time. And what I would do is if 2 wasn't contrasty enough, but 3 was too contrasty, because for those of you that aren't familiar with this kind of paper, it's graded. It's not multi-grade. You can't use a filter to change your contrast. You have to actually purchase an entirely different box of paper, and that would have more or less contrast. And Lupex is fairly contrasty to begin with. So if 2 was soft but 3 had too much, what you could do is put your print in the developer. I had it there for 1 minute for a full development, but because it was a single weight, so it went very quick. But let's say 30 seconds had the right amount of contrast. Remove it from the developer and immediately put it into a tray of water, and you don't agitate. Just you put it in and you stop. And then you let the rest of that minute occur. Or like if this is 2 minute developer time, you might do 1 minute in developer and then 1 minute in water, just sitting, not agitating or anything. And then you finish on like normal. And what that'll do is kind of get you like if you use grade 3 paper, it'll get you like a 2.5, since they don't make a 2.5. So yeah, and that's the problem with Lupex is there may only be one. They don't really do a whole lot of it. And I'm not even sure if they're doing any of it anymore, and it's just whatever's left over. But this would give you like a half grade lower, so that you can probably get some of those deep blacks back up. You'll still get the depth of black, but you can do some other things like the pre-flashing for the highlights, the water bath development for the shadows, and so you can manipulate it quite a bit, because high contrast is not a bad look. I'm not saying that you can't or shouldn't do that. It is definitely a vibe, and it's an aesthetic that a lot of people go for. There's nothing wrong with that. It just depends on what you're trying to achieve. If like this image may be exactly what you want, but there may be images in the future where you are having trouble controlling the contrast a little bit. Now, obviously, some of that's also going to be how you develop your film and what contrast you develop for and all that. But sometimes you've got the negative. You can't go back and redo that. So knowing how you can manipulate this paper to get a little bit better variety, that would work really, really well. So yeah, try it. see what happens. The gold toning looks pretty good. It gives it that like cool, cold blue look that you all are seeing. That's the gold toner. It definitely gives a blue black. It just costs a fortune because it's gold. Okay, 2 more here. All right, who is this one from? Okay, I don't remember who this one is from. I'm sorry, but you'll recognize it as the one you sent. I have the box because you sent it in a bigger box. I had that outside, so I don't have your name on this one. Okay, so we've got this print right here. Big old square. I'm guessing from the edge notches that this is a Hasselblad. And I'm guessing this is the burger paper. It looks good. It's got like a almost like a warm purple to it. It's a good color. Let's see a little bit more. And I don't believe I had anything here telling me what it is you wanted to hear. So if you're watching, I'll give you a moment. If you're watching, let us know what feedback you want. And I'll try to give you something helpful. It's you? Hello? Selenium toned? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not too familiar with burger papers. Go ahead and do a general. Oh, I guess it's Steve. General critique. Okay. Compositionally, we've definitely gone with the rule of thirds for the glass here. However, I find this highlight to be very distracting because while this is clearly meant to be the central focus of the image, like the main character of the image, this part is just significantly brighter. So it makes it a little bit hard to just focus on the glass. So just keep that in mind when you shoot. I don't know if this was like a still life intent or if this was a found object. Obviously, if it's a found object, you're tied to the place that you're photographing it and where you found it. Also, how to improve the print. So the print quality itself, I think, is fine. Like your density is good. Your highlights are good in the main glass. What I would probably do is pre-flash this to try to get a little bit of tone in it, just to bring that down a touch. Because it is a little too close here for you to like have cropped it out. Because trying to print that, I don't think would work very well. Because it's very unbalanced unless you just want to like strip. But I don't think that was anything at all that you wanted. The way you photograph the glass itself is fine. Like you can really see the texture of the in the glass works. It's really just that highlight is just visually distracting. And I mean, I'm guilty of this myself. Sometimes you see the object and you're not seeing the whole image as you're looking through the camera. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times I've done that. And then I go back, I'm like, ooh, I wish I'd moved over a foot. Split tone, selenium, and sepia. Oh, okay. So for those of you unfamiliar with split toning, the way that works, sepia tone obviously makes things warmer, and selenium tends to make things cooler. But they work from opposite ends. So sepia, you bleach the image out, and then you redevelop it, and you're creating a sulfur silver combo image instead of just silver. It's sulfur compounds, and selenium only attaches itself to silver. So with split tone, it's going to affect the highlights first. Selenium is going to affect the shadows first. So you put the print in the bleach, for very, very short amount of time, just to bleach out the highlights, and then you tone it. And only the highlights or upper mid-tones are changed to the sulfur compounds. And then you wash it and you put it in your selenium toner, and that's going to attach itself to the densest or darkest parts of the silver image. It won't affect the part that has been changed by the sepia. So you get a silver selenide shadow with cooler shadow tones, but a sulfur silver image from the highlights. So you get a nice split tone image. So it all depends on how long you bleach it and let that bleach go down from the highlights down, as to what's going to become that warm sepia, and then what is remaining of silver will cool with the selenium. So, and correct, Hasselblad. Yep, seen enough of those. And Triax 400 pushed to 1600. Is there a reason why you pushed and didn't just shoot it at 400? Like, was it a lighting issue, or are you trying to get something out of it? Because I have to be honest, I never push film. To me, the idea of pushing means I'm just underexposing and then trying to save something by developing longer. I'll do a video on that at some point, showing the difference between pushed and pulled images. But being in large format, I mean, I guess that's kind of the zone system, except you're not really considering it pushed. You are intentionally exposing the film more or less based on the desired shadow detail, and then developing based on the desired highlight detail. So it's a little bit different than pushing, but I don't know. It's just not something I do. Lighting was not great, and a little bit of experimentation. Nothing wrong with that, right? Absolutely nothing wrong with experimenting. That's how we come up with new stuff and new aesthetics that we can then apply to other work. So no problem with experimentation. Okay. Believe this is the last one. Let's double check. This one. Yeah, okay. So last one, we got Ryan. Yeah, Ryan has been working lately on his 5x7 stuff. So let's see if that's what he gave us today. Ryan, did you end up renting out that space? And am I sitting for you sometime this week? That's great paper. Well, I know you're on here, Ryan. Did you leave? How dare you? Leave before we talk about your stuff. So I had that with students sometimes. There was a class I was teaching. I don't remember which one, maybe large format, when I was down in Miami, and had a young lady sneak out of the room. The classes at that particular school, there he is, working on it, trying to figure out which day. Okay. Well, I'm off until Friday. So just let me know. So the way this school was set up, normally with the art schools or art classes in universities, you would have class twice a week for 2 hours each session. That's pretty typical. If it was like a beginning drawing or sculpture, it might actually be 3 to 4 hours each time, but still twice a week. However, this particular school in Miami was once a week for 4 hours. So you would cover a lot for that whole week. But there was a lot of like lab time because trying to sit up there and lecture about a topic or demonstrate a camera for 4 hours is pretty tough. So we had some lab time. So I'm doing some stuff in the class while they're working on their computer editing. And I notice that one of my students, she like went to the bathroom or something, but then didn't come back. And her stuff was gone. And it had been like an hour into this 4 hour class. So I was like, did she ditch class with like 3 hours to go? So we went over to her computer. When I say we, me and some of the students in that class, and we noticed that she's still logged into her social media. At the time, Facebook was the big one still. So she's logged into her Facebook, and so we're like, well, let's see if we can get her to come back. So one of the students who was a little bit faster at Photoshop than me, had them sit down and we went through her photos on her Facebook. And the way she was paying tuition was she worked kind of like a showgirl in Vegas, except these are like nightclubs in Miami. So like the whole like feathery dance outfit, and then they dance on stage and stuff. And so we found some photos of her like backstage posing with her friends and whatnot, snapshots. So we took one, and it sounds so mean now that I'm telling it, but it was very funny at the time. We gave her a little belly bump, and then like reposted her picture with that, saying about how excited she was for some news. And she started getting comments from her friends like, OMG, what happened? And about a half an hour later, because we're just going back to class now and I'm still doing whatever, she like just walks in real quiet, just goes straight to the computer and just sits there and pays attention to me, but the whole time is like clicking madly, like delete and getting rid of stuff. It was funny. I thought it was funny. I thought it was hilarious. Don't skip out on my class. We'll post pictures of you looking pregnant, basically. All right. Oh, hey. So this image I recognize because I was there when he took it. So as I mentioned earlier, Ryan is local to me. So we went out on a drive in some back country, and I believe I did a video on the 8x10s that I shot that day. But Ryan had his 5x7, and he said he wanted to go check out this abandoned church out on this tiny little road. Yeah, where's the camera? There we are. So it's this white church on a field, abandoned. So I feel like I took a picture of him taking this picture too. I don't think I put it on social media. I think I put it up on the Discord. I stayed in the car because it was hot. I pretended like I was the lookout for anybody, but really it was just hot. I didn't want to go out in the sun again. But yeah, there's a good shot. I mean, it's a little flat on the contrast. So that's more of just a printing issue, not exposure or development of the image. And we are starting to get some of the sky texture. It was a very, very hazy day, like just bright, sunny, but humid. So a lot of sky haze. There's not going to be any information to get out of that. The only thing that he could have done, I think, to get some texture out of the sky would be maybe like a strong yellow filter to take out any excess blue and then bring down the tone. That also deepen the shadows because they're going to have a lot of blue in those shadows. But compositionally, we got it centered. I mentioned last time with the images he had of the grain silos. It's got like a very kind of centrally placed Weston feel to it. This does sort of the same thing. I probably, being a vertical subject, probably would have shot it vertically, just because there's nothing on the sides that's really giving us context. Excuse me. I'm looking through the back of the print, so bear with me as I stare here at the back, because I can see through enough to talk about composition here. Sorry, it's also very glary because it's a super super glossy. Oh, we have a question. Is there any reason why contact prints I often find print at a lower contrast to an enlargement for any given fixed grade? Yeah, there is. There is. It's because it's going through an extra lens. Contact prints are going to be more true to the contrast that's in the film, whereas enlarging and going through that extra lens tends to raise the contrast up a little bit, because now you're dealing with resolving power of the lens and any kind of flare and stuff like that. But yeah, it changes the texture is, I think, the only really descriptive word I can give it, of the negative. A diffusion enlarger will get kind of close in terms of contrast versus like a condenser enlarger or a point source enlarger. Those definitely raise the contrast up. I did do a video on that. But the lens imparts its own character, the enlarging lens, on the image. So contact print isn't going to do that. So I hope that answers your question there. So yeah, back to this. I probably would have cropped it vertically, I think, to accentuate the building. That's just, personal preference there. But it's his image, it's not mine. We do get, I think, if it's more like a document of a place, then I think this does a good job. It shows us the place. It shows kind of some of the context. We could have pulled back some, either with a wider lens or physically just walking back and placed the object, the building, in a bigger sense of context. And as a documentary image, I think would work well, backed up just a little bit. But as an image of elevating the building from the status of a building to like a photographic iconic object, then I think we should have gotten a little closer and vertical and eliminated more of the context and really focused on like, this is the formal shape of this, and this is how the camera renders it. So a little bit different. Like the power line. I mean, it's power line. It's a very wavy power line. And while I'm joking about the power line, and Ryan may as well, see, I wanted to send a fiber print, but the print was super muddy. Couldn't figure out why the difference. So you got gloss. And I have no problem with gloss. RC gloss, though, is like a whole another level than fiber gloss. If there's a contrast issue, because one thing that I'm seeing here, Ryan, is you're not getting any true black. So that could be one of two things. That could be you're printing time. You're not printing long enough for black. But it could also be your developer could be a little old and is not able to achieve a full black. I need my bifocals off. You also have some Newton rings in the sky. That happens too. I've gotten many a Newton ring. And they're not fun. They're hard to get rid of. So what I ended up doing for Newton rings was when I was contact printing, I may have sent it to Tim out in Texas. I had my contact printing frame and I replaced the glass. You can either get thicker glass and then that'll create more pressure and that will do it. Or if you're going to use thin picture frame glass, I found what's called non-glare, and it's not coated. It's not like an anti-reflection coating on glasses. It was actually one side of the glass has a very, very fine etched surface. Now, the way that it's supposed to be used is that etched surface is on the outside of the frame. I can't see the frame above me. So you would normally have the etched surface towards you, the viewer, so that when light lands on the frame, it's scattered and it doesn't create a highlight. But the way you would use it in a contact printing frame as Newton ring eliminator is it would be inward toward and actually touching the film, so that you don't get Newton's rings. And because it's contact print, the texture doesn't do anything. It simply stops the Newton rings from showing up. So I've done that before. It works really well. It's getting harder to find, and not a lot of places are describing it well so that you know that you're getting the textured glass versus coated glass, which functions very differently and will not eliminate Newton's rings. It's True View Museum glass, I believe. True View being the brand. The museum glass is a line, so you look for the non-glare True View. That's what I found in the past, and it worked really well. It's almost like a ground glass, but it's nowhere near as frosted. It doesn't have the white frostiness to it, but it does definitely have a tooth to one side. That'll help Newton's rings. So, okay, we have talked about all the prints. Since we only had 1, 2, I only had 4 prints come in this time, plus the 2 from last time. Not a lot to talk about. I gave you all 5 weeks. 5 weeks. There should be more prints if y'all want me to talk about them. Because last time I went through the Discord and we had a pretty good turnout. And a lot of people said, oh, hey, I would love to be included. And I'm not part of the Discord. So we made a wider call out on the YouTube space. And we're getting a smaller turnout. So you gotta convince me, if you want your pictures to be talked about, why we need to have a third print critique. Because if you don't send me stuff, right, you can tell me you want to send stuff, but you got to actually send it for me to talk about it. That's how it works. Yeah, better contact printer glass anyway. So I've done 2 ways. Get back on task here. 2 ways. One was the slightly toothed, etched, non-glare picture frame glass. The other is really, really thick and heavy, just regular clear glass. So I have a piece upstairs. It's what I made my contact sheets or contact prints from for that other video of the shots I took when Ryan was taking this. It's a 16 by 20 inch piece of 1/4 inch or 6 millimeter thick glass. And it's so heavy that it presses down hard. Now you have to have foam under it in order for it to get even contact, but the weight is enough to press flat and not have Newton rings. So a lot of weight or pressure, or a little bit of texture to the glass. So either way, we'll get rid of those. So FYI. I always find it hard to get motivated to print. So I was glad for the push to send the prints over. And that's what we need to do, right? It can be hard to get the motivation. Believe me, I understand. Right now, it's very hard for me to get motivated to go up into that bathroom and do any sort of work. And I understand that. I'm not unsympathetic. So yeah. My Saturdays are very, very limited on being able to set this up. And Saturdays obviously are going to be the best day for live streaming since a lot of people are off work that day. Typically, I am not. So it is something I try to organize anytime I do get one of my rare Saturdays home. So I just want to make sure that if we're going to set time aside, we've got something to talk about. Now, I am still here. I am more than happy, since we have only been live for about an hour. If we have any other questions that you all want to ask, send them in now. I'm going to give you all a few minutes. If we have questions to answer, we're going to do it. We're going to talk about it. Any photographic questions, art related, teaching related, technical related, send them to me. Otherwise, we will wrap up and we'll see what other day we may be able to schedule this for a future one and give you all plenty of time to print. It's Darkroom printer. I'd love to send a print at some point, but I only found out this thing a few days ago. I mean, it happens, right? I mean, not everybody has been on my channel for a while. It is more difficult to communicate through YouTube, so I do recommend, join the Discord. It's free. It's not behind a paywall or anything like that. So join. Either Tim, Ryan, or myself have to go through the vetting process. And since I was getting prepped for this today, I didn't have time. I know there's somebody in the queue waiting to be vetted and in there. But that will definitely get you in the loop on these, simply because people talk about them more. The announcement on YouTube, I mean, nobody ever comments on those. I think one person did. So I don't even know if people are seeing that, honestly, to know beforehand. I've thought about making an announcement during a video, but people don't pay attention to when videos are published. So I could say, yes, we're going to do a print review in 2 weeks. And then they watch that like 2 years after. They're going to be very confused. And does that happen? Yes. I still have people contacting me about the new process at home Kodachrome process that I did for an April Fool's joke 3 years ago. I still get messages about it asking me when that's going to be released and what was my experience. Did I like it? It's great. Super fun experience. I had a blast making that video, and I had an even bigger blast watching people fall for it. Believe me, I love it when people fall for my pranks. I think this last one, it did take me a little bit to come up with an idea with the infrared and ruining it in the fixer, but somebody had mentioned on the Discord about how they fix their film first, and I thought, yeah, let's do that, and I'll make it look like one of those crying social media things. Thoughts on framing a negative space on prints? I always get all precious about trying to use all the paper. Credit to Steve. The negative space made the print look intentional and finished. Yeah, there's no reason you can't use negative space. So maybe I do need to do that composition video, looking at different ways to use composition, because negative space can very much be a part of the image. Yeah, I mean, it's for those of us that went to art school, it's very basic stuff. But I realize not a lot of you have. Some of you are just making stuff because you enjoy it and you have no technical formal training or anything. But negative space is definitely used a lot. Anything can be considered. It doesn't have to be a big blob of black to be considered negative space. It just has to be non-information space within the image area. So it could be tones of gray or white or black. It just cannot be full of information that distracts from the subject within that area. And how you use it and how you structure it within that rectangle or square image is what you're doing to create that negative space to subject relationship that can create a visual tension within um, within that. And it can be used as storytelling. Like if you're doing portraiture and you're doing portraiture, say environmental, right? Like I'm on this couch and I'm sitting in this room. So doesn't have to be like a black blob and that is the negative space. If you had the video camera backed up and you're taking just a environmental portrait of me on here and I'm sitting on this edge of the, this side of the couch and this side is empty, if you frame me central to the image, then there's, I don't think, any negative space in that image. If you frame it so the sofa isn't centered in the image and I'm on the side, you've created negative space in this area. And that can be part of your storytelling for that portrait. Why is there negative? It implies that there should be someone here. And so you've created a tension between me and the empty space and the possibility of who should be there, why is it empty, and what story is happening within there. So something like that is a way to think of negative space in an image area and how you can use that for your photographic storytelling. And it doesn't have to necessarily be like a person in a black background, but they're moved over to one side and you have this empty space. I mean, you can, but that's not necessarily like that's the most basic idea of negative space, but not necessarily the most interesting or creative use of negative space. But don't be afraid of negative space. That's it's part of the image for a reason, and it's up to you to create the tension between the negative and used space to make your image more interesting. We have a lot of things coming in. Let me, as I'm talking about negative space, I'm moving stuff. Okay. Any tips to overcome nervousness with roadside photography, both related to confrontation and landowners and traffic? I keep a couple traffic cones in my trunk, the trunk of my car. And then I've got a orange safety vest and a hard hat. I haven't used the hard hat in a while. I have to find it. I don't even know where it is. I might have to get a new one. But yeah, if you can find a safe place to pull over, then you can put your safety cones out. You can put the vest on. And if you have a hard hat, put that on. You look official. You look like you're supposed to be there. And people typically do not care about somebody working on the side of the road. They might complain about how inconvenient it is that they had to swerve around you a little bit if you're like kind of on the road. The reason why I got that stuff was because I was on the side of a major highway. You've seen me be on the side of this major highway a couple of times. It's the main artery through my county. But I was on the side of that taking a picture of a field many, many years ago. There's tons of stuff there now, but it was an empty field at the time. And about 100 yards away from me was a stoplight. And I've got my big camera set up. I'm on the side of the road, on the shoulder. I am not in danger of getting hit. But obviously my camera drew a lot of attention. And I heard brakes squealing because people were looking at me and not paying attention to the fact that the light was red and people were stopped ahead of them. And so they had to stop very abruptly, almost caused a wreck. So since then, I got the cones and the safety vest. And when I put those on, people think that I'm like just a surveyor or something. They could care less. Actually, no, they couldn't care less. Sorry, that's the right saying. They couldn't care less that I was there. They will fly on by. I'm actually probably in greater danger of being hit because now I blend into the scenery looking like a surveyor or construction or something. So that's a great way to not be noticed, is to make yourself look like kind construction background. So hope that helps. As for confrontation with landowners, bear in mind, if I'm pulled over and I'm taking something like that and I'm there long enough for a landowner, it's because I'm using my big camera on a tripod. In which case, if the landowner sees me, because I don't go on private property, I'll shoot from the road. In which case, what are they going to do? Nothing really. But if they come over and they're like, "What are you taking pictures of?" I'm like, you want to see? I'll show them. I'm like, you ever seen one of these cameras? It's a big camera. Do you want to take a look through and see? It's pretty cool. And usually once they look at it, they're like, huh, that's pretty awesome. I'll just talk to them about it and, let them look through, and they're usually fine because like I'm not taking pictures of their children through their bedroom windows or anything, and they can see that. So usually once they see that and that I'm not a threat, they'll leave me alone. But for the most part, it's the roadside and people gawking at me, and the orange vest and the safety cones really kind of stop that. Still in the top 10 or so results for searching DIY K14. Yeah, I hope so. I hope I'm always at the top. It is so much fun still getting people there and like, yeah, that was an April 1st joke. That's fun. Have I printed from X-ray film much? I have never shot X-ray film in my life. The closest I've ever come to non-traditional film is that ortholith film. I've done both the Ultrafine brand and the Arista brand ortholith film, but I've never even purchased a box of X-ray film. I was looking the other day to see if there was 20 by 24 X-ray film. There is not. There's 14 by 36, but I am not building a 14 by 36 inch camera. And I believe that's for like large animals, like horses and cows. Have a Bessler U45 VC unit. Ooh, I think the contrast are a bit bunched between 2 and 4, probably. Is there a way to check this or compare to? I don't know about an app, but definitely a step wedge. So what I would do is do a step wedge at each step or even each half step between 2 and 4, if that's what you're mostly worried about. But I would probably do the entire range to be sure. And then I would try to find a way to get a step wedge exposed at all the grades using an Ilford filter set, but without the VC head. So find some way to do it. If that's the only enlarger you have, I don't know how. But you would need to find a way to eliminate, well, it's a Bessler, so if you can get another head, even if it's just a condenser head or something. No, condenser would be a bad idea because no, it would work if you put a piece of white acrylic plexi under the condensers above the film to diffuse the condenser. That would give you a diffused light like the VC head. But anyway, something with just a standard tungsten light source. And then you do those same step wedge exposures. You should be able to put the 2 and 2 and the 2.5s and the 3s next to each other. And you just count the number of steps from pure black to pure white. And if you have the same number of steps, doesn't matter if they're shifted up or down, that's an exposure time issue. One's brighter than the other. But if you're getting the same quantity of steps, then you're getting the same contrast. If you're getting fewer steps on the VC head, then the VC head has higher contrast at that setting. So say you get 6 steps at the 2.5 on the VC head, and you get those same 6 steps on the number 3 filter with a regular light bulb, then the VC head at 2.5 is creating a grade 3 contrast. So you would have to figure like what setting gives you a true 3 or a true 2. I consider the Ilford filters to be a true setting, and then everything else is kind of around that. Personally, you can figure out what your own standard is, but that's how I would go about trying to figure it out. False advertising on the channel name here. Yeah, but you don't want to see how much hair I have all over me, because even if I took my clothes off, you would think I'm just wearing like a furry suit and still wouldn't consider me naked. So it is what it is, man. You can take the shirt and be happy, or you can see a disgusting amount of hair and just feel nauseous the rest of the day. So go with the safer version. Yes, safety vest. That's what I recommend. So just set it to use white light with the filters and compare. Maybe it depends on what the white light is. Who do you say it was? A U45. I don't know what the light source is. If they're tungsten halogen bulbs, then yes. If it's using a cold light source like a um, fluorescent type or LED type bulb, then no, I wouldn't use that on a white light because again, you don't know what the basis for that is. But if they're, I'm trying to remember if I've used the Bessler system or the Ilford. It may have been the Bessler, and it was using the blue and the green filters in front of the bulbs, but they were tungsten halogen bulbs. And so it made it very green for 0 and very blue for 5. Yeah. If that's what you've got, then yes, set it to white and use the under the lens filters and go from there. Absolute nightmare printing with multi-grade 2 filters on modern multi-grade 6 paper. But don't it is halogen, just the lights. Yeah, so that'll work. What do you mean you had an absolute nightmare printing with multi-grade 2 filters on modern multi-grade 6? Like you felt like you weren't getting your contrast or something? Because if it's every time, then yeah, something's going on. If it's one time, yeah, if the filter head isn't generating the correct tones, then yeah, I would definitely check to make sure. Those are I don't know how those filters are made. I think they're supposed to be glass dichroic filters, which means they're not coloring the light green or blue. They are blocking every wavelength that's not green or blue. And then it kind of mixes the two with like neutral density or an aperture system to get a mix. So it's technically equal green and equal blue to make grade 2. I've seen those before. I don't know what Bessler used as their basis. So that's why I would kind of use the under the lens filters to create like a baseline that like this is what a 2 should be. And then on the VC unit, adjust the dials in the color mix to match what that is. And then it's like, make a note. This, whatever setting that is, that's grade 2. Of orange to magenta, multigrade 2 goes white to bluey purple. What? Like your paper colors coming out? Oh, you mean the multigrade filters are orange to a magenta? Yes, but they are also kind of working like dichroic filters. They are filtering out the light of those colors, of the opposite color. I don't know. it's not actually making the light more magenta. It's blocking out all but green. So yeah, I think we're on the same page. I just didn't quite understand that. All right. So multi-grade 2 wasn't working with the monitoring emulsion. I mean, that's not the experience that I'm having. I'm finding that it works just fine. And I'm assuming you mean like the current, what is it, multi-grade? Because it's not multi-grade 4. I don't even know what the current paper is. What the name of it is. And I'm assuming you're talking about Ilford paper, Ilford brand paper, right? What am I looking up? B&H. I know this is what you really want to see here, right, guys? Me looking stuff up on the internet on my phone. Darkroom equipment, margin paper, black and white. Multi-grade classic, is that what you're talking about? And are you talking about fiber paper or RC paper? Because they do behave very differently. Up to 235 up to 6x7 on a Bessler. Can you get up to 6x7 on a Printmaker 35? I thought the 35 meant you can only do up to 35. I know technically they're like the same machine. But I mean, it depends on how big you want to do. They should be able to do 11x14. And honestly, you should only upgrade your enlarger if that's what you want to upgrade. If you're getting the prints that you want, honestly, it's the lens you use is far more important than the actual model of enlarger. Far more. That's going to be your biggest determining factor for your image. Are you using a good enlarging lens, or are you using the cheap Besslar lens? If your lens says Besslar on it, you're going to save more money by throwing it away than you are wasting paper making prints from it. Yeah, it's Ilford. Fiber base or RC Ilford, though, because that's very different. The fiber paper behaves very differently than the RC. I don't like RC paper. I rarely ever use it except for stuff on the videos because I go through it. But for my own stuff, I won't use RC. And I don't like the way RC renders a lot of images. It's a very different emulsion. And I don't like the gloss. I don't like any RC paper surface, to be honest. Glossy is too glossy. The satin or pearl finish or whatever that is I don't know. It's not my thing. But all right. If there aren't any other questions, we're going to wrap up this time. Next time we try to do a print critique, I will announce it hopefully earlier. I mean, I announce them as early as I'm able to schedule them. That's really what it comes down to. Saturdays are hard for me to get. So it's been 3 months, right? April, May, June, July. Yeah, 3 months since the last one. It may be another 3 months before I do one, but use that opportunity and that uncertainty to make a print that you think you want to send to me. And you can send it. You know, I'll just keep them until we schedule one, and I'll have it here already. You won't even have to worry about it. All right. Well, I'll look at Insta. Not the moment, though. So, yeah, if you want to send a print, you can send them. And then when I have enough, we'll make a longer stream. But also come prepared with any sort of questions. Or if you just want to hear a story about something, I can fill the time, believe me. But otherwise, thank you all for watching today. Hopefully, those of you that sent prints, you got some useful information so that when you go back and make more prints, you can use that. Because that is always the goal of critique. What can you learn to make your prints or your photographs better? It should never be an experience where you just hear if somebody likes or dislikes something. It should be helpful information to improve moving forward. So if you got that, great. If not, let me know, and I'll try to give you more specific, helpful information. So thank you all. We've been on here, I don't even know how long. An hour? Oh, hour and a half. That's long enough. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining. Y'all have a great evening.